outside of Nashville, Tennessee. This is the award-winning podcast, ParaReality.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for listening tonight. My name is Sandman, and I'm going to be your guide through this strange realm of ghosts, cryptids, UFOs, aliens, conspiracy theories, and other unsolved mysteries that I like to call ParaReality. And joining me in the co-host chair this evening is Eric, back in the house. Welcome back, Eric.
Thank you, Sandman. Good to be here.
Hey, so what's up? What you been doing?
What's up? Well, had a good holidays. January seemed like it lasted literally forever. I think most people felt that way. But yeah, doing good. Started off the year good, and new decade. So happy about that.
Yeah,
we made it.
Yeah,
we made it.
Another year older.
Another year older, indeed.
High strangeness going on World We Live In.
World we live in, yeah. When this episode comes out, we will have released a new episode. Let's see, we did an episode on time slips. That was really fun. There's some crazy
I've yet
stories.
to listen to that. I know that you released it, but I've been busy and haven't done it. But I really want to listen to that.
Yeah,
Don't spoil it for me.
We only had time for so much. Trying to keep it around an hour, but yeah, there are a lot of stories out there about people who have experienced time slips. Yeah,
for sure. That'd be a good topic for us to do.
That would be easy too. Tons of stories. So
yeah. Cool. Let's do it. Let's plan on doing that.
Yeah,
we'll do
we
that.
should.
We'll have a planning meeting.
100%.
We'll do a meeting to plan the planning meeting for the podcast.
I'm all down for that. All down for that.
Well, it's great to have you back here on the show. I've had some people ask me, "Hey, what's up with Eric?" And did you fire him and replace him with John Harrison? And I addressed this last episode. No, I did not obviously fire Eric. Eric did not quit the show. It's just a scheduling thing. Holiday season's coming up and New Year, and I know you're settling into your new job, and I don't know if you can call it new anymore, and it's just trying to work our schedules out, and unfortunately, this is the first time we could get the schedules worked out. So yeah, people have asked what's up, because let's face it, you've been co-hosting the show for a year, and
it's been
so where's Eric? Well, Eric's back. He's just been on hiatus. He's been working really hard on World We Live In podcast. That's what I tell her.
Yeah, that's usually the case. That's usually the case.
So welcome back into the co-host chair.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
So got a bunch of new equipment since the last time you were here. What do you think about the new setup, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've started redecorating the studio here. It's got about a quarter of the way done. So, eventually by the end of the year, it'll look different. So,
I said you were getting a new computer in.
Oh, yeah,
got the soundboard in.
Yeah, this old computer that I've been using, I really don't know how old it is. I think it's like 2007 or maybe a little earlier than that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Time for an update.
Yeah, man. It's I got a excuse me, I got an email from Windows the other day. It was like we're not supporting, not Windows, but Microsoft, and they're like, you're not supporting your version of Office anymore. You're on your own. No more updates.
Dang.
Yeah, I know. So, President's Day sale, Dell had good deals.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm biting a bullet. I'm going into debt. I'm buying a new supercomputer. This is a supercomputer, as far as everyone knows.
Were those big gaming computers like Alienware or something?
No. My gaming days are long past. I bought a PlayStation 4 because of Spider-Man, because I'm a huge Spider-Man fan.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to play PlayStation 4 and I'm going to play Spider-Man. No.
Didn't happen, man.
It's
It's unfortunate.
Waste of money. But I got a PlayStation 4 and I have like
one.
2 games.
Oh, man.
And I haven't played it in probably a year and a half. I'm sure it's going to take about 6 hours to do all kind of updates and stuff.
I was about to say, it might be like 6 days.
Yeah. So I'm going to have to turn that on. Thanks for reminding me about that.
Yeah.
So everybody on tonight's journey into the realm of ParaReality, Eric and I are going to pick up on a topic that we first talked about a couple of months before the end of 2019, and that's Jeffrey Epstein. I think we did this, October?
It was either October or September.
Yeah, sometime it was right during the last part of 2019 when Jeffrey Epstein, as I use my air quotes, died under mysterious circumstances. And it seems that there's still a lot going on with the Jeffrey Epstein case, and there's still a lot of mystery that surrounds this supposedly dead man.
There really is. The mainstream media would have you think not, if that's your way of consuming media, which I'm not saying is bad, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes, especially concerning some money and people, independent media sources, I should say, that are trying to get to the bottom of what actually happened.
So you have to ask the question, is he really dead? Or did he maybe somehow, I mean, he's a billionaire. Was he able to fake his own death? And is he still alive somewhere, living a life of luxury, free of all the constraints and restrictions and everything that he would normally have on him, free to do whatever he wants to? I mean, like he was doing it anyway, but now he really can because he's quote unquote dead. So that's what we're going to be discussing tonight on ParaReality. And of course, to learn more, you're going to have to tune in and find out. However, before we start tonight's journey, let me tell you how you can get in contact with me and Eric here at the podcast, because there's a few different ways. First of all, you can send an email, sandman@parareality.com. Eric, your email address is?
worldweliveinpodcast@gmail.com. And I would just make a little plug here. If you got any stories, anything, and you feel so inclined to reach out to me, we would love to have some stories.
So worldweliveinpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
You want to be a guest on the show, be interviewed by the world famous Eric.
World famous.
And Kyle.
Yes. Don't forget my best friend and co-host, Kyle. Yeah.
So you can email me, sandman@parareality.com. And same thing, if you got a story you want to tell or strange happening that you were a part of and just want to tell your story. I have always said I specialized in interviewing the everyday common man. I don't necessarily go for the big name celebrities and stuff like that a lot of people seem to want to do. And I think that there's a lot of everyday common people just like me and Eric who's had some weird stuff happen to them. And maybe you're looking for answers. Maybe you just want to tell your story. Maybe you want to help me, or want me to help you, should I say, try to find the answer. So if you're interested, sandman@parareality.com, worldweliveinpodcast@gmail.com. Also, you can find both of us on Facebook. You can go to the ParaReality page on Facebook and World We Live In podcast or is it just World We Live In?
I believe it's just World We Live In.
Okay.
Yes.
So, World We Live In on Facebook, ParaReality on Facebook. If you want to get in touch with Eric, World We Live In. You want to get in touch with me, Sandman, it's ParaReality there on Facebook. You can also follow both of us on Twitter. My username is ParaRealRadio. That's ParaRealRadio. And Eric is World We Live Pod.
World We Live Pod.
And both of those are on Twitter. So World We Live Pod to follow Eric and World We Live In Podcast. And, of course, if you want to follow me, it's ParaReal Radio. And, of course, you can always call the show on the studio line, 615-692-1170, and leave a message with your story, or just leave me a message just to say hello, whatever you want to do. I'm in the studio a lot. I've been redecorating, putting in some new equipment, still got some new equipment coming in. So I'm always here. It seems working. So if you want to call and leave a message, you may just I may answer. You never know. It's just a possibility. But if you do call and I don't answer and you decide to leave me a message, just remember that you're giving me permission to play your comment back on the show. So if you don't want that to happen, you need to let me know that you don't want me to play this back on the show. So I'm always looking for interesting stories, as I said, for the podcast. So if you got a story that you'd like to get on the show, you can, if you don't want to be interviewed and you just want your story to be out there, you can just tell it to me over the voicemail. I think there's like a 5-minute limit. And if you get cut off, you can always call back, pick up where you left off. So those are all the different ways you can get in touch with me and Eric here on ParaReality Radio. So this is the point of the show where I read some fan mail, and
yes.
man, have I got some fan mail for you guys.
Quite the fan mail.
Yeah. So this comes from Trey, and I'm not going to read this whole thing because it is an extremely long email. But Trey says, I would like to be a guest, write topics, etc. I have an extensive view on non-Abrahamic alternative spirituality. Neither you or I are the sons of Abraham. And then he goes on in his email with something he calls the post-human manifesto. And it is an extremely long email. As far as manifestos go, it's pretty short, but as far as emails go, it's pretty long. Mm-hmm. I've read it, Eric. I forwarded that to you. I know you've read it.
Yes.
Trey, I haven't emailed you back yet because I've been a little busy. I've been out of town visiting some family and stuff. As a matter of fact, I was out of town when I got this email, and I sat down. At first, I was like, "Man, I'm visiting family. I'm not going to read this." And I can't. I could not do it.
I know.
All right. It was like 15 minutes later, I'm reading the email.
Yeah.
So I was visiting my mom. I'm sitting there at my mom's house reading this email. Of course, she's wanting to talk to me. She's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Like,
what are you
shut up, Mom. This is important.
I'm on my phone, Mom.
Go do your old lady things. So, Mom, I love you. I'm just kidding. So, so it's a very interesting manifesto that you've got there, Trey. I haven't emailed you back, and I am going to email you back here in the next couple of days or so. Right now, it is the 16th of February as Eric and I are pre-recording this podcast for release on the 21st, which is coming up Friday. So, Trey, you'll probably get an email before you hear my response to you on this. But anyway, I'm interested in talking to you. I think we got to talk to this guy. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Eric? Yeah,
I do. There's so it's more of an outline. Mm-hmm. It looks like an outline, honestly, for like a paper that could be written. And maybe that's the idea Trey has. And we'd love to talk to you because there are some interesting points in here that I would love to get more clarification on. It's a little all over the place as we sit here and read it, but again, a lot of things are as people write down their ideas. So I would love to see what Trey has to say.
I'm wondering now that you've mentioned it, does look more like an outline.
Mm-hmm,
I'm wondering if this is something that he did a copy and paste from, or was this something that he was like, did he type all this as he was sitting there? Is this something that he came up with that's been in his head that he's never written down before?
Yeah. Very
well could be something like that. And not saying that it's not written down somewhere, Trey. We're just speculating here.
Just spitballing, yeah.
But you do. I'm with Eric. You do make some really good, interesting points. Some of the stuff, I got to be honest, the whole thing's really out there. I don't want to say too much to spoil it before, if we can get this guy to appear on the podcast. I don't want to spoil too much stuff, but this post-human manifesto thing is it's piqued my interest. Let me put it that way. So he talks just briefly. He talks about the Earth being a finite thing. He talks a little about wars on diseases and a tribalistic society, for lack of a better word. Let's see, what else does he talk about here? It has a lot of stuff about religion, and one of the main points that he makes is he says Caucasians, Africans, and Asians are not sons of Abraham. And he kind of goes on to talk a little bit about that. He calls it tribal socialism. That's what he calls it,
By non-Abraham, I would imagine is referring to the idea that the Islamic and Christian religions both, and the Jews, trace their lineage back to Abraham.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yes, yes. And, of course, he talks about capitalism and Zionism and Buddhism, and goes on and on from there. Education's a topic that he talks on, abortion, artificial intelligence, heaven, hell, the concept of heaven and hell in the church, and very interesting stuff. So, Trey, definitely, I'm going to be emailing you back, and we're definitely going to try to get you on the show. So, there you go. There's the email of the month right there.
Email of the month, yeah. Good way to start 2020.
Yeah, that's a very interesting email. Okay, so let's get on with it. So we are picking up kind of where we left off with Jeffrey Epstein, and when we talked about it last time, Eric, I think we both came to the conclusion by the end of our podcast that this dude is probably still alive, and I am still of that mindset. I think he's still out there living. Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think he's out there. There's too much movement. There's too much still going on for, I don't know, in my opinion, there's too much still going on for him to not be behind the scenes.
Yeah, so one of the things that I read was that there's money that's continuing to move both in and out of his bank account. And we're not talking about, 20 or 30 bucks here. We're talking about millions of dollars that's moving in and out of this guy's bank account. That I guess his attorneys or the attorneys for his estate or whatever, or they're saying like, some sort of, it was an accounting error or something like that. It was.
So they set up this bank called Southern Country International, and this has received millions of dollars from Epstein's estate, and this was in December.
Wait, they set up a bank just specifically for the Epstein stuff?
Yeah.
Holy crap. Mm-hmm. They made a bank just for that.
Yep. After Mr. Epstein's death, and this is from an article from the New York Times, his estate transferred more than $12 million to Southern Country, according to court documents. At a court hearing in the Virgin Islands involving Mr. Epstein's estate, one of the magistrates there, a Judge Carolyn Herman Purcell, questioned the lawyers about these transfers, saying that the disclosure was not satisfactory. The judge said she did not know why the Southern Country International would be receiving checks from the estate. She flat out says there's no explanation.
Man, what I find really great about this though is that the judge presiding over this is a woman.
I know.
There's this misogynistic bastard, and they've got a woman presiding over the case.
Presiding over the estate.
That's irony right there.
I don't know how the whole judicial system works, but I would hope someone did that on purpose.
I would hope that too.
Yeah. What's interesting though is one of the main lawyers representing Epstein's estate is a woman. So I don't know. I'm not sure how you do
I got
that,
nothing to say about that one.
Whatever. I'm sure there's a good paycheck coming out, but
no, for sure, dude.
Yeah. These so she's over, so the Judge Herman Purcell is overseeing his $635 million estate, including possible establishment of compensation fund for the victims. So I guess this whole thing came up as the estate determination thing is going on. So these bank transfers came up as that was happening.
So have they really identified his victims? Because I haven't looked that deep into his victims, so I don't know.
Yeah, I've not either.
Okay.
I've not looked at the victims or who I guess on what grounds they are claiming victimhood, like what I don't know what terms to use, but what qualifies them as a victim? Was it like being sexually abused physically? Was it being somehow involved going to the island or whatnot? I don't know what qualifies that, but anyway.
That would be very interesting.
Does that make sense, though?
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to. I would love to look a little deeper into that about what qualifies to be. Number one, what qualifies you to be a victim, and number two, who are the victims?
How many as well?
And how? Yeah. Number three, how many of them are there? So we've got this money that's moving in and out of this guy's account that's going to this special bank that was set up specifically for all this. Mm-hmm. And the attorneys are like, we don't got an explanation for that. It just kind of happened. And the judge is like, I'm calling your BS. But I mean, so what's she doing about it? I mean,
so the checks listed in the estate's transactions were apparently for routine payments such as cable TV bills and phone service to Mr. Epstein's many properties.
But
who the hell's living at these properties? Right. You know what I mean?
12-year-old girls.
Who knows? But that's the thing that doesn't make sense. Like, the guy's dead, so...
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And how these are just his known properties, right? How many properties does this guy have that we don't know about? Because let's face it, if you're a billionaire and you've got money is power. We all know that. Mm-hmm. So if you're a billionaire, you've got a lot of power. And if you're doing all this nefarious stuff with all these underage girls and having this sex cult thing or whatever the hell it was that he had going on, surely this guy has got some property somewhere, at least one somewhere that is off the books that nobody knows about except just people who were in his very tight-knit inner circle, right?
Yeah, like maybe, I don't know, an apartment building somewhere in Paris or London or Berlin, anywhere.
I mean, for Christ's sake, the guy had his own private island, a whole island. Who's to say he doesn't have another smaller island or an estate on some other island somewhere that no one really knows about? I mean, he could have bought it with a shell company or used a fake name or, you know.
Here's another crazy thing. So the individuals that worked at the Virgin Islands airport that he would fly out of, they would watch as his helicopter flew to the airport. He got out, and then when he would come back or as he was leaving, there would be girls that they said looked very young, but they would be wearing college sweatshirts as to disguise their age, being over 18 and in college, which probably wasn't the case, let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's as if this guy was just flaunting and walking in front of everybody, hiding in plain sight.
Well,
because he knew no one was going to do anything.
Yeah, exactly. He's a billionaire. You know?
Exactly. So
I mean, if you went to him and said, "Hey, dude, I know what you're doing. I'm going to go to the cops."
He'd probably just laugh in your face.
How much is it going to cost? You want how many millions? 2 million? 5 million? Here you go. Here, take this 12-year-old girl too. And see what it's all about.
Disgusting.
Yeah. I mean, who's to say that, a lot of these people weren't bought off? I mean,
totally.
Here you go.
You don't know. You really don't know.
No, exactly. There's no way to know. I don't think that the full extent of this guy's depravity will ever be known.
Nope, I agree.
Because number one, there were so many people. Apparently, this went on for decades. So there were so many people that he did whatever to, and then all of the people that were, I'm not going to say involved in it because that's kind of it's accusatory, but all the people who knew about it, I'm sure they were getting money from. I mean, I'm going to be honest. If I had a billionaire friend, or if I worked for a billionaire, and I knew that this guy was seeing underage chicks, and he was like, "Hey, man, here's a few million for you to keep your mouth shut." I'm not going to say that I would keep my mouth shut, and I'm not going to say that I would go to the cops. I'm saying I don't know what I would do if I was given $5 million or whatever, this guy offered me. Is because I'm only human. I know. Like to. I'm not saying I'm an asshole, or I'm a child molester, because I'm sorry, an asshole maybe, but a child molester absolutely not, and I'm not condoning that. But what I'm saying is, if I was faced with just turn the other cheek, here's a few $1 million, or it'd be hard. I'm not going to say I wouldn't contemplate it. I would like to think that I would do the right thing and go tell him to F himself and go to the cops. But you got to look at, if you do that, money is power. Who in my family's going to die? Yeah.
Especially if you're in a position of a lower economic status. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you and me both live very comfortably.
But we're very poor compared to him.
Yes, in comparison,
poverty level,
very much.
There's no way he could survive off my salary.
No, mine neither. Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, I like to think of myself as a decent and moral human being, and if I'm admitting that I would probably find it difficult to turn down a few $1 million, I know other people would feel the same way and probably did do exactly that.
Yeah.
I mean, if this guy's, his billions are making him millions every year. Yeah. So what's a couple of million? He probably makes that in a weekend, for all I know. I don't know. I mean, okay, here's a couple of million, and
yep,
I'm gonna buy you this expensive prostitute for the weekend. She's of age. She's 21 or whatever. You don't want one of my little girls. Here's an adult prostitute. She'll make all of your nasty fantasies come true.
Yeah.
Sure, that was done too.
What's that?
I said, I'm sure that was done too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, I've heard other podcasts say this, but that nobody's talking about. They're all talking about underage girls, but they're not talking about like underage boys and stuff. Which gets even worse. But there are claims that some high politicians, had enjoyed that more than the girls. So
they say that goes on at Bohemian Grove. I did an investigation on my own into Bohemian Grove. Didn't go down there because no one wants to sponsor me to go down there. If you would like to sponsor me, if World We Live In podcast would like to sponsor ParaReality,
our deep pockets,
to investigate Bohemian Grove, but they say that goes on at Bohemian Grove, which all kinds of depravity and homosexuality and stuff, and underage, both boys and girls. But I don't think Epstein was ever accused of underage boys.
No,
but it stands to reason that if his high, powerful friends knew about the sex island, as I like to call it out there, and I mean, no one was doing anything about it. So, hey, Jeff, look, man, I like to do little boys. I like to, can I borrow can I come out to your island? Can you get me some kids? Can you get me some boys on the 17th and let me come out there? Well, sure, man. Yeah, here you go. How much are you going to pay me? Here's a couple $1 million, Jeff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's disgusting.
Really bad. Really bad stuff. So,
but you're right. No one else is really talking about that.
No, because let's be honest, people don't want to talk about that stuff.
No.
People don't want to talk about it.
I'm going to have to take a shower after this,
No, I know. People don't want to talk about it, but if you go back through history, that stuff has happened all over the place.
But, this just kind of goes to show our society. We feel more comfortable about talking about some dude basically having sex with underage girls than we do some dude having sex with underage boys.
Yeah.
Both is just as equally nasty. But, the having the sex with boys seems to be even more gross, and it's really not. It's the same. To me, it's the same level of gross.
Oh, it's absolutely appalling.
So, do you have any names of any of his high society friends that might have been engaging in this underage homosexual acts?
No, I do not. Not off the top of my head. Some of the podcasts I've listened to, though, they had claims that it was.
Well,
that's something that is going unreported.
Well, I was just going to say, first of all, we have to state on the front end that these are unsubstantiated claims. There's absolutely, as far as I know, no proof of any of this. If there is proof of it, no one's come forward with anything yet, or no one's talking.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is all speculation. Mm-hmm. But like I said, it stands to reason if there are people doing it with underage girls, probably some of the same people are doing it with underage boys too. What is surprising is that all of these people, like I said, this has been going on for decades, and you're not hearing about a lot of people coming forward and saying, yeah, Epstein, I was 12 and he would fly me out to his island up until I turned, 18, and then he didn't have any interest in me.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing any victims coming forward and saying this was me or I was an Epstein victim or anything like that. So that just goes to show you they were either paid off or scared as hell, or probably a combination of the two.
Well, the airport workers at the Virgin Islands were saying that these girls were leaving the plane with like Gucci and Dior bags.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
But at some point you would think that they would, as they mature, they would understand what was happening to him, and maybe, especially now, I mean, he's quote unquote dead. So what have you got to lose now by coming forward and making this claim or telling your story? The only thing you have to gain now is apparently money from this bank that's set up specifically to pay out, pay off his, well, not pay off, but, give restitution to his victims. Mm-hmm. Man.
Yeah, it's a spider web. It's a spider web. It's a rabbit hole.
It is. So what other evidence do we have? I mean, I want to get off of this molestation topic, but what other evidence do we have that he's alive besides millions of dollars of money moving around?
Well, a lot of it is money, and to go into a little more detail, so from the same New York Times article, records filed by the estate on Friday. So this was, I think, a couple weeks ago. Indicate that the Southern Country had $693,157 in assets when Epstein died on August 10th. And in mid-December, the estate had $15.5 million transferred to the Southern Company in 2 checks. The Southern Country International is the name of the bank. Southern Country then sent back $2.6 million, leaving the total it received in the bank to be $12.9 million. The documents filed by the estate do not give reasons for either transfer.
So there's $2 million basically that's missing.
There's $2.6 million that was sent back to the estate from the original 12.5. That leaves $12.9 million in the bank.
But do we know that 2 point whatever million it actually went back to the estate, or is that? It
says it does, but who knows? Yeah.
Okay.
So it says it's not clear what Southern Country did with that money. 2 weeks later, the year-end value of Southern Country assets was just below $500,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So money's moving in, money's moving out. We don't have an explanation for it. We don't know really right now where the money's going as far as this 2.9 or 2.6?
That was transferred back to the estate?
Yeah.
It was 2.6. 2.6 transferred back to the
so
estate.
we really don't know where that 2.6 is going. So it says it was transferred back to the estate.
But if Epstein established the Southern Country International Bank, are they not one and the same?
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's my confusion, and I didn't really get a answer to that. So they have to be one and the same. I don't see a distinguishment unless there's some fine print type of thing that we just don't know about.
So was this bank established before or after?
Before
he died.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So apparently he got a tax break. The bank got a tax break in 2013. So Southern Trust generated $300 million in profits in 6 years, and he paid an effective tax rate of 3.9%. And this New York Times article states that the source of the revenue is not clear. Corporate filings by the company in the Virgin Islands did not list any clients.
That's interesting. No clients.
0 clients.
We have this big-ass bank with millions of dollars in it, and we don't got no clients.
It would seem, it would seem as it's just like a holding platform.
Mm-hmm. For all these millions of dollars to be funneled in and around and moved around for him.
Yep.
Yeah. How long before we start having Epstein sightings?
Well, that picture I showed you back in September, do you remember that on the island? It looked like an old white guy.
Yep.
So there is that picture. That was taken from an anonymous drone footage. And then we can talk about these 2 guys that went on the island and their YouTube video.
Oh, my God,
which we should definitely mention.
Yes.
Before that, though, so I guess this would be in January. The Attorney General of the Virgin Islands, Denise N. George, said Epstein had sullied the territory's reputation with his conduct. She sued the Epstein estate, seeking to seize his private islands and dissolve what she said were shell companies acting as fronts for his sex trafficking enterprise.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what was going on.
The suits seek to intervene in the administration of Epstein's will to safeguard assets for dozens of his victims, claiming the co-executors may have conflicts of interest because they were officers in many of Epstein's companies, including Southern Country and Southern Trust. And the co-executors, Darren Indyke and Richard Kahn, they declined comments.
Of course.
Or they did not return requests, I should say. And, so that's where we're at.
So who owns his island right now? Didn't it get sold? Did someone sell it? Or
I did not hear that. No,
I don't
think so.
Idea. But
I
we know
he owned the island, so until the court determines that it can be seized, I guess it's still his. And to hop into that video, so this YouTube channel called We Are Change, these 2 guys went to Epstein's island, took a boat.
Spent a lot of money to do this.
Yeah. They were on there for, what'd they say, half an hour?
I think they said they were only on there for like 30 minutes.
Okay.
If that was true, they filmed a lot of stuff in half an hour.
I mean, they were all over the place on this island.
Yeah.
So they came across this temple. Who there had been when we looked at this back in September, there had been rumors about some sort of temple. There was no access to get inside. Very weird. Looks very weird. Looks like one of the guys, I think it was Jeff, claimed that it looked like a movie set.
Yeah, a cheap movie set.
Cheap movie set, yeah.
Because in the video, they are walking around this quote unquote temple, and like everything is painted on it. So the stone or the bricks or whatever that's painted, there's a set of double doors that's just painted on there. But what I did find interesting was at one point they came across this thing where there was plywood, just this sheet of plywood that was nailed over the temple. I'm wondering if that wasn't the real entrance.
Oh, okay, yeah, could be.
It was only just a little, a short little snippet there that you saw, but you saw when the guy's reaching out and like trying to see if he could pull it off or whatever.
Shake it, yeah.
Yeah. My theory on that is that I think that whatever was in there, I think that it's quite possible that the government, whenever they raided his property and took all of his stuff, I think that they went in there and found something and then painted it up like that to make it look like a cheap movie set. 'Cause this guy was a billionaire, and surely he could have afforded to have. I mean, that island is like a freaking resort.
It's amazing. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have this cheap ass looking temple thing.
It's out of place.
Yeah, it's very out of place. And he could have afforded, even if it was just to be some sort of replica, not meant to be anything, he still could have afforded to make it look better than what it did. So that is extremely, with everything else that's on the island, in pristine, immaculate condition. And of course, this temple looked good. You know, it wasn't a piece of crap, but everything was all painted on and fake. So extremely out of place. He could have afforded to have built something with actual stone and doors on it, and you open the doors and there's nothing in there. You know, I mean, he could have afforded that. That'd have been nothing. You know, instead it looked like he hired a couple of dudes off of the island to come in there and put it together in a weekend.
Yeah.
You know?
It was on purpose, though. Maybe I don't know. Considering what else he was into, maybe he just wanted some weird.
And what was the temple supposed to represent?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we'll ever know. There was some speculation. I don't remember that I heard back when it was initially found, but I mean, considering what he was doing, one can extrapolate that it was some sort of maybe occult sex magic. Because that has been tried before. Aleister Crowley tried that many times.
That. Yeah,
and
maybe he followed the teachings of Aleister Crowley.
Who knows? Who knows?
Sex magic's supposed to be still practiced by a lot of people these days. It's supposed to be a very powerful thing.
Yeah. So.
Ooh, maybe we can get a sex magic practitioner to be on the podcast. That would be cool.
That would be pretty wild.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm thinking.
Wheels are turning.
Yeah.
So yeah, other structures on the island they find this giant dump, just like a giant trash dump.
Yeah, I forgot about that. It's like the island had its own private garbage dump.
I know. Well, I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense, but also like there was a lot of trash in there for being like a private island.
Yeah, stuff in there was like a big attaché case looking thing.
That black case?
Yeah.
It had the locks on it.
They never opened. There was paintings in there. What else did I see? And those are the two things that kind of stand out in my head.
Yeah.
And it's almost like these two guys, they were able to not only get on the island without being detected, but they traversed a large portion of the island and did not get caught. And they went into some of his offices and stuff, and the places was like, not only was it not secured, but it was picked clean. I mean, there was nothing in there, you know.
It was just wide open.
Yeah. Well, if the FBI or whoever had gone in there and raided all the stuff and taken it all out, why do you need to secure it, I guess? But it's almost as if that the government had this dump area that they were just
tossing
they were just tossing all this stuff. So there were two huge garbage bins there. And how you gonna? The only way to get those things on and off the island is like a barge, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that area looked to me, the way that it was constructed and placed, that looked like new construction. That did not look like it had been there for a while.
Speaking of new construction, there were also bulldozers, a cement mixer.
A freaking ambulance.
An ambulance? Yeah, like...
What the hell?
First off, getting that ambulance on the island could not have been easy. And secondly, like, what do you need an ambulance for on that island? Except maybe Epstein came there in the ambulance, you know, like after he hung himself.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you get the ambulance over, you're going to have to put it on, once again, a barge or something like that to get it over. Why would you want it? I mean, they could have put him in a helicopter and flew him over. You know, the whole ambulance thing, I don't get.
I'm not sure about that. Yeah.
And the initials on the back of the ambulance. What were the initials that was on the back of it? I can't remember. It was SLC or something like that. It was three initials.
Let me see here. I'm gonna play it without sound.
Okay. And I can't remember. It was SL something. It seems to me like it had, but yeah, it was just like there was just three initials, and like it was some sort of like Epstein's private ambulance for the island.
Yeah, I saw SLC on the side.
SLC.
Yeah, right by the door.
Okay, and what did he call that? What was the name of his island?
Wasn't it Little something?
It was Little something.
Yeah. LSJ was on the back.
LSJ, yeah.
No, it was Little Saint. Was it Little Saint John or
something like that?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, man. So it's like he had his own ambulance that was just for the island. So there's no. Well, we didn't get to see the whole island, so we don't know. But there's no. I don't guess there was any first aid station or little mini hospital on the island, so maybe you just, easiest thing to do is, well, I'll just buy my own ambulance and stock it up, and we'll use that if we need to. I don't know. That
Little St. James.
Little St. James. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Weird. The video's very strange. There's like these little gargoyle figurines around the island
all over
too.
the place. Yeah.
That they said that was the strangest part. Was these little gargoyle figurines? They got like little horns. That chair that was made of like
antlers,
a hide and antlers.
Yeah. I don't. You can't get a good look at it from the video, but who knows if that was real or not? But I mean, if it's Epstein, it probably was.
Yeah.
And who knows?
It's not really your island vibe.
No,
you know what I mean.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The island was very well taken care of.
Very well kept, yep.
So there's still people living there. Even the two guys that were on the island said, it's very pristine, it's very well kept up. The pool was in perfect condition, so there were people there. And then one of them got a phone call from some dude and said, man, there's people running around all over the island yelling and stuff, so you need to get out of there. What I want to know is, how did that guy know?
Well, I think he was on the boat with the captain, and from their vantage point, they could see.
But that just goes, like we were talking before we started the podcast. That just goes to show how big that island is. Because number one, these guys were able to drive up there on a boat, get off, and hey, what's up, and walk around. Number two, undetected.
This was in the middle of the day.
In the middle of broad daylight.
Yep.
And they covered a good portion of this island, and not once in the video did we ever see any other human beings there. So whoever spotted them had to have spotted them from a distance.
Yeah, for sure.
Or maybe they tripped off some sort of an alarm, or maybe they were caught on camera.
Some sort of camera,
or something like that. That's weird. And then there's all these this mysterious person who's been flying drones over the island, getting drone footage. I'm surprised that drone hasn't been shot down.
Yeah, there were a couple. They said a couple anonymous individuals had been flying drones over the island, and in saying that, they were basically stating the danger of what they actually did, and if they were to get caught, I mean, God knows what would happen to them. So yeah, they were saying that flying the drones is a safer option, but again, you don't get the up close and personal effect of their video.
Right.
So.
Well, for all intents and purposes, whether Epstein's dead or not, it's still a private island, and they were trespassing.
They were.
So they did run the risk of getting put in jail. And, this video that they did was shot in October. Here it is February, and it's still up, which, number one, that surprises me. Number two, I mean, they have openly admitted that they were trespassing on this private island and have video of them on the island. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised that no one has prosecuted them,
Yeah, that's a good point. The only thing that I can think of is the video is very good, and I love how they're walking and talking with video cameras, but nothing they uncovered helps solve anything.
Yeah, it doesn't prove that Jeffrey Epstein is alive.
Proves nothing.
Yeah, it just proves that someone's taking care of the island. That's all it proves.
That's all it proves. And there's nothing material to go off of. And I think if there were someone that is looking at prosecuting, to spend the money prosecuting, there's no point. There's no point.
It's just not worth it
because nothing was found. Yeah, they didn't come across anything.
That is a very good point.
Yeah, and again, not anything on them. Great video.
Oh yeah. I mean, it proves that some of the rumors that we heard about Jeffrey Epstein's island is true.
It's very true. Yep.
And I think that was really the whole point of their video. I don't necessarily they were going there expecting to find Jeffrey Epstein sitting in a lounge chair on the beach.
Would have been incredible.
Yeah,
best video of this century.
That had also been the last we ever heard of those guys.
Yeah,
we would never know that they found Jeffrey Epstein on the beach in a lounge chair because they would be dead.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. But so you're right. It proves nothing except that the island's being very well taken care of, and it is still listed on his estate. So I guess there's still employees that are drawing money off of from his estate. I'm sure his attorneys are taking care of that. I don't know how that works because I'm not a billionaire or a millionaire. I'm neither one of those things, so I don't know how stuff like that would work, but I'm assuming that until everything is settled with his estate, that it does still belong to him, and obviously whoever is his the executor of his will right now or his attorneys are taking care of paying these people to keep them employed by just doing their regular job that they always do on the estate until it's such a time that they determine what's going to happen with it. So that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, and just to wrap up the timeline, this article that I was reading from the New York Times is from February 4th. So everything written in there is within the month.
Yeah, it's recent.
So very recent. So anything concerning trial proceedings, that is all still ongoing in the Virgin Islands. So who knows? We may see the estate seized. If Jeffrey Epstein's alive, he's not on the island. It's too unless he could be hiding in plain sight, but
it'd be too obvious. But,
way too obvious.
So
I picture him in like one of those fake. He's got the glasses and the mustache, just walking around in plain sight.
Shaved his head. He's all bald now.
Exactly.
So we're quickly running out of time here, but I want to ask you this question before we wind it up. So why do you think that we have just all of a sudden stopped hearing about the Jeffrey Epstein case on the mainstream media? Because it was Epstein killed himself, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. Epstein's dead. Then for like a month, Epstein, then nothing.
Yeah,
and it's been crickets for months now. Mm-hmm. Why do you think we're not hearing anything about the Epstein case anymore?
Well, the mainstream media doesn't like to dig, and there was no camera footage of his cell, so there's no pictures of the body, and I mean, if you just report on that and the fact that the camera footage is bad, not usable, there's no body. If you stop there, there's really no case. Now, I do find it interesting that the New York Times because New York Times is fairly mainstream, that they reported on this. But also, we all know that the mainstream media is owned by like 6 companies. Yeah. And we all know that those people are very high up and very wealthy. So I'm not saying anybody's connected. I'm saying there is a possibility. We know that, what was it, CBS or NBC? You saw that video of the female anchor talking about she had one of the accusers of being sexually abused, Epstein, come to her, I believe it was, or they were talking, and she had the story and was told not to run it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. By her boss. I mean she
that
had,
is, yeah.
And this was months.
This
or maybe even a year or so.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a year or more
before all this broke. She had it. She had the scoop.
She had the story. Jeffrey Epstein was still alive, and she was told not to run it. So that there is blatant cover up by the mainstream media of a pedophile.
Very good point.
So
yeah, I have to agree with that.
Yeah.
And do you know what happened to Epstein's body?
I don't actually.
I have never
heard,
seen or heard anything about what happened to Epstein's body, which is kind of...
I've seen sketchy photos that I didn't quite believe.
I know he's supposed to have an autopsy, but you haven't heard anything. They just said, okay, he's going to have an autopsy and we'll have results, and then...
Nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that basically the moral to this story is there's more to come.
I definitely think there is. I think once these proceedings are done in the Virgin Islands, fingers crossed that they don't somehow get covered up. But from the tone of this article, it sounds like the people down there are pretty upset that the view of the Virgin Islands has been tainted by this.
Dude, they knew what was going on to start off with.
I
He
know,
was probably giving them money.
I know.
Giving the government money.
Yeah.
And now that that's dried up, they're like, well, we're pissed off now.
Could be.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say, yeah, I'm like 99% sure that's what happened with that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, when it comes down to it, follow the money, and you'll probably get to the bottom of things.
Yeah, but he was probably so good at covering up his money trail, man.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to find. Not that you couldn't do it, but it'd be hard to prove.
Yeah.
Well, that about does it for this episode of ParaReality. Man, it's... like I said, the moral of this story is there's more to come. We'll probably be revisiting this again before the end of the year.
I imagine sometime around April or May we'll be maybe a little later, but I think April or May we'll be reporting some more on this. Yeah.
We shall see.
Yes.
Oh man. Well, I hope that you enjoyed tonight's episode of ParaReality. Let me know what your ideas and thoughts about it are. Just send an email to me, sandman@parareality.com. Or you can send an email to eric@worldweliveinpodcast@gmail.com.
That is correct.
God, that is a long email address.
I know, it's a long one.
But it works, whatever.
Had to get the name in there.
Yeah, there you go. Or you can also get in touch with us through our social media accounts. For me, it's ParaReality on Facebook, and World We Live In for Eric on Facebook. Twitter, for me, it's ParaReal Radio. That's ParaReal Radio on Twitter. And for Eric, it's World We Live Pod.
Yes.
On Twitter. That's World We Live Pod on Twitter. Don't forget, you can also call the studio line, 615-692-1170, and leave me a message on the studio line. You can also visit parareality.com to keep up with the latest paranormal news from all around the world, because I update my news section daily, and it has everything from anything paranormal that you can think of: ghosts, aliens, hauntings, UFOs, cryptids, mysterious disappearances. Probably has some Jeffrey Epstein stuff on there. So, yeah, if you're a paranormal news junkie, you can go to the news section on ParaReality and follow the RSS, subscribe to the RSS feed, and keep up with all the latest and greatest in the paranormal news that's going on in the world.
Did you see that story about the guy claiming to have a threesome with ghosts?
Oh yeah,
yeah. I think you retweeted that, or
yes,
it was on the news feed. Yeah,
yes, I did. I would love to follow up on that and see how it went.
Yeah, I hope you had a good Valentine's Day.
Yeah, It was better than mine. I can't tell you what happened on my Valentine's Day, at least not on the air. I can't tell you what happened. But let's just let's say that there was no threesome involved in my Valentine's Day, but there was a trip to the ER. So
oh no,
yeah. So
oh no,
but I wasn't the patient. So,
okay,
yeah. So
there you go.
There's that. Yeah. So stop by ParaReality.com and keep up on visit the news section and keep up on all of the paranormal news that's going on around the world. You can also follow my social media accounts right there on the bottom of the ParaReality.com homepage. My social media is where you can find out all about what's happening behind the scenes of the podcast. And I post a lot of interesting articles and show topics and other kind of stuff that like my travels and my investigations and stuff like that. ParaReality.com is really your one-stop shopping for everything that's happening in the world of ParaReality. If you go there, you can also visit got a little static going on. There we go. If you visit there, you can also shop in the ParaReality radio store and watch some show videos and other stuff like that. So ParaReality.com. Speaking of ParaReality, it can be heard on your favorite podcast station. The show is available on Spreaker, Stitcher, Google Podcast, Player FM, Deezer, Castbox, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Podcast Addict, Apple Podcast, and I'm also on YouTube. My YouTube account is ParaReality, the number 1, ParaReality 1. Just search for ParaReality, and if you have a smart speaker, you can listen there too. You have any of the already mentioned podcast skills on your device, just say play the ParaReality podcast. Let's see. Yeah, I now have a Patreon account for the podcast, and I'd love it if you sign up to be a patron. There are 3 tiers of support, and all are extremely affordable, $5 a month or less. So sign up for Patreon and help support the show. Each level offers exclusive content along with the ability to help create podcast episodes and even the chance to be a guest or a co-host on the podcast. And everything that that I receive from Patreon goes right back into producing good quality content for ParaReality. So please consider giving me a support on Patreon. To learn more, head on over there to patreon.com and look for ParaReality. All right, everybody. The next episode of ParaReality is going to be on Friday, March 6, 2020 at 8 o'clock p.m. Central U.S. time. Eric, when is the next World We Live In podcast going to come out?
It will be out, as you listen to this episode, it will be out. We will have released it on February 17th. So,
ooh.
Yes.
That's tomorrow.
That is tomorrow, yes.
Okay. All right. So, World We Live In podcast coming out tomorrow on Podbean, right?
Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and I think most of them, except Spotify hasn't been working lately. I need to figure that out, but Apple Podcasts is your best avenue.
All right. So, World We Live In podcast with Eric and co-host Kyle.
Yes, sir.
New episode tomorrow on the 17th. Of course, it doesn't matter because by the time this comes out, it'll already have been
it'll be out.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. So, all right. That about does it. Everyone, I hope this podcast opens up your mind to new ways of thinking, expands your consciousness, and produces a change in the way you see the world. If you wish to change, you must lift the veil of ignorance that has been cast over your eyes. Only then will you see the true power of the universe. Hope you have a wonderful evening. I'll see you again in 2 weeks. Thank you, Eric.
Take care.
Eric is going to be back next month at the second podcast, the third Friday in March, whatever date that is. I don't have my calendar pulled up, but Eric will be back again with us next month. So take care, everybody. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you again in a couple of weeks.
If you wish to change, you must first lift the veil of ignorance that has been cast over your eyes. Only then will you see the true power of the universe.